Okay. Well, the topic of today is web analytics. And web analytics is a term that is used uh, to express the different tasks that we do uh, to get information about our users. So just imagine that we have a website and we have some users or clients or customers that use our services, and we want to know how many they are, where they come from, whether they are local or they connect from elsewhere in the world, and the things that they do with our website, whether they buy our products or read our articles or whatever that we publish or offer in our website. So these are the questions that we're going to answer. What is web analytics? Why use web analytics? What are the terms used in web analytics? The web analytics and categories and the major tools for web analytics. So what is web analytics? Web analytics is a study of visitor navigation and traffic patterns to determine the success of a given website. Focusing only on the amount of traffic might only be helpful in evaluating your bandwidth, usage, and server capability, which is not its only purpose. So it's not just measuring parameters related to your web server. It's actually having information about your users. So Web Analytics focuses on in-depth comparison of available visitor data, referral data, and site navigation patterns. It also tells us the amount of traffic we receive over any specified period of time. About this last thing, that it says that it also tells us the amount of traffic we receive over any specified period of time. Well, once I worked for a big digital library project that is Miguel de Cervantes Digital Library. And there we did, periodically, we did studies of the readers of the digital library. And we classified the readers by country because we wanted to know from which countries they connected to the library, and also by time of the day, to be able to uh, modify or take design decisions on our server installations, and also during the different days of the month and months of the year. And the reason is this, because we wanted to, for instance, discover if there were peaks during the year. Well, we actually discovered that during teaching seasons. The project was a digital library, so during teaching seasons, there were more readers than in the summer holidays, although the summer holidays in the northern hemisphere is opposite to the summer holidays in the southern hemisphere, and we also noted that. So we discovered different patterns of usage depending on countries, depending on holidays, depending on the season of the year, and also the time of the day. So after doing these studies, we got a very clear picture of the usage concerning time, concerning time of the year, time of the day, and that was very useful information. Also, information by country that allow us to target our efforts towards different users. For instance, the library had some help desk service that the users can ask questions, and it was important to know which were the times the users connected to the library, because it's easy when the library is only accessible from Spain, but when it's accessible all over the world, well, there were different patterns. And obviously, since this library was related to Latin American documents or books or contents in Spanish, the working times or the daylight times, both in Spain and in Latin America, were the prevailing times for the connection patterns. And although there were some users in Asia or in Philippines, for instance, uh, those were not the amount of users from such countries was small, and not relevant enough as to have a help desk 24 hours of the day. Okay, so this was just an anecdote of the possible applications of web analytics. So, well, why do we need web analytics? Within search engine marketing campaigns, your investment can and must be broken down to an extremely granular level in order to measure and, more importantly, maximize your results. Web analytics measures and maximizes return on investment, identifies which referral sources generate the most revenue and orders for your business, helps in targeting your marketing efforts better, determine which visitor groups are most likely to convert into customers, members, or subscribers. Okay, so why do we need web analytics? More options are to optimize conversions. The conversions is, as I was saying in Spanish, when a user gets to a page that we design with a certain purpose, with certain activity in mind, and the user does what we expect the user to do. That can be, for instance, register in our service or download some file or buy some product. So tracking to maximize the rate at which your website visitors convert into customers, subscribers, or members. Okay. Okay. Save on customer support. So it improves the efficiency of your online support to dramatically reduce your offline costs. I mean, if you have information about your customers, you can more efficient offer online support. And this is with the example that I was mentioning about the digital library, that knowing how many users connected to the library at what different times of the day or what days of the week from which countries allow us to devise the optimum time for a help desk service. So number 5 says to pinpoint online revenue enhancing opportunities. So this is to determine upward and downward trends in a particular product and which products would function best as loss leaders to attract new customers. So web analytics jargon. These are the terms, the parlance that is commonly used in web analytics. We talk about hits. A hit is a request for a file from the web server. The number of hits received by a website is frequently cited to assert its popularity. Well, it says request for a file or for a web page. I mean, whenever somebody clicks on a link and gets our web pages, that's a hit. So the number of hits received by a website is frequently cited as, to assert its popularity. I mean, if you have a web page and you have hundreds of thousands of users, well, your web page is very popular. If you have a blog and you have millions of readers, you are very popular. But this number is extremely misleading and dramatically overestimates popularity. There are several reasons, and also remember that nowadays that some of these web analytics are used to measure the popularity, for instance, of politicians among products, companies, and other things. There are also fake users and fake hits that are paid to create a false idea, a false measure of popularity. So this is a tricky business nowadays. I mean, there are plenty of cases of Twitter accounts of politicians that receive connections for fake, non-existent users. A political leader may have thousands of followers, and perhaps only half of them are real persons. So those things are done today, and also are noticeable in web analytics. But the good web analytic technicians are able to discern, to separate real connections from fake connections. For instance, I can create a web program that connects to a website so that the website receives hits and apparently has lots of raises lots of interest among the users. But a good web analyst may discover that I'm connecting from the same place several times a day, and that those connections should be discarded. Well, also we have the term impression. An impression is each time an advertisement loads on a user screen. So anytime you see a banner, that's an impression. So an impression is better than a hit. But for instance, whenever you read the newspaper online, you see plenty of banners or plenty of ads that you may not pay attention to them. I mean, they appear on your screen, but that doesn't mean that you really read the contents, and even less that you do something from that from the ad. Okay, so an impression is just that they presented an ad in your screen that you may or may not have seen, but it counts. It counts as a measure that the ad was displayed. I mean, it happens the same with television. I mean, if you just go out of the room when the commercials are shown, well, the companies that put those commercials will not know if you're really paying attention or just doing something else during the commercial time. Uh, okay, then there is another term called bounce rate, and this is the percentage of visits where the visitor enters and exits at the same page without visiting any other pages on the site in between. So this is called bounce rate because the user gets in and gets out, and that doesn't show that the user got interested and navigated your website. It just got there and left. Then we have visitor or unique visitor or unique user. So the uniquely identified client generating request on the web server, the uniquely identified client generating request on the web server, log analysis or viewing pages, page tagging within a defined time period, for instance, a day or a week or a month. So that is the number of visitors or unique users. So here, the same person visiting from two different computers will count as two unique visitors. So there are some technical problems with this. I mean, most of these systems are not, most of these web analysis systems are not able to discern or able to realize if the same person connects to the website from two different gadgets. I mean, you may connect to a website from your mobile phone and at a different time connect from your personal computer. And from the point of view of the web analytics, those would be two unique visitors because there is no way to know that unless you have some user identification, login and password as a user of a service, and then they will know that that is the same person. In most cases, they do not know. And the same happens with different persons connect to the same service from the same computer. I mean, just imagine that you have one computer at home and several of your family members connect to a given place. So most probably all of them will be identified as the same visitor. Okay. And then we have the term page view duration or time on page. So this is the average amount of time that visitors spend on each page of the site. And this is not it's not something easy to, it's not a value easy to obtain. Because it's easy to know when a user hits a page, I mean, requests a page, gets into a page, but it's difficult to know how long the user has been there unless you program some tricks within the web page to know the duration or the time of the visit. Obviously, if a user gets into one of the pages of your website, just imagine it's a digital library, and then the user moves to another page of your website, you will know that the user left the first page, and you can calculate how long he or she was there, supposing that in the meantime was not doing something else. So if a user requests one page from your website and then requests another and then another, well, you may assume that from the time they entered in the first page and then they request the second, they've been connected to that page, which doesn't have to be true. So it's not easy to measure the page view duration or the time on page, but it's an interesting concept. Well, web pages may have some code inside that allow the websites to know whether the user is actively or not doing something with the page. Things like that can be done. But just imagine that you open a web page and then go for a walk and then come half an hour later and move to another page. Well, the system may suppose that you've been watching that page for half an hour or more, and that is not correct. Okay, so no, I'm just commenting that not all these things that can be or we want to measure in a web analysis are easy to obtain. So we have to take into account that some of these measures are tricky. Okay, so here there is another concept called categorization. So the web analytics tools can be categorized into two parts. One is conversion, and the other is usability. The conversion rate is a ratio of visitors who convert casual content views or website visits into desired actions based on subtle or direct requests from marketers, advertisers, or content creators. So this is what we've seen in previous classes about the same page, where you put something like an ad or a link in a web page with a purpose that a user will click there and connect to some place or download some information or buy some product or give their email address or something. Okay, so this is what we call a conversion. It's an action that we expect our users to do, and the conversion rate is the number of visitors who perform that action compared to the whole number of visitors that hit that page. So some major tools that help assess the conversion rate are Google Analytics, Web Trends, Compete, StatCounter, and Quantcast. Okay. Well, Google Analytics, if you don't know, is a web marketing company within Google. I mean, most of the benefits or revenue of Google as a company comes from advertisement. And Google have some very, very strong and very big advertisement business. And as part of that business, they have Google Analytics that allow their customers to measure the real success or the real impact of their web marketing efforts by just analyzing things like this, like conversion. So Google Analytics may know when an ad was shown on a web page, that's an impression, and also know when the user hits in that ad and performs an action, and that's a conversion. So in that way, Google can count simple hits, impressions, and conversions. And that gives us an idea of the behavior of users. I mean, of all the users who hit the page, how many receive the ad and impression, and how many perform the action that does the conversion. Well, on the other side, we have usability. If a site is usable, it fits its purpose. So this typically means that it's convenient to use. So now there are some tools which can be used to assess the usability of a website. So for instance, we have here mentioned ClickTale or Crazy Egg. But there are more tools to measure usability. And also some to measure accessibility features, which is a part of usability, as I told you in one of the previous classes. Okay, so here it talks in this slide about web analytic tools related to conversion, but in particular Google Analytics. So Google Analytics has an excellent graphical representation of data, provides for marketing-based analysis, helps you to see what a visitor put into your internal search box and what page they were on when they made a search, helps you create a filter to not count anyone from specific domains you add in, lets you create and save your own custom reports, lets you pick and choose the metrics you want to track, as well as the categories to keep drilling down for further analysis. Where Google Analytics goal conversions are defined by a specific URL, event tracking lets you track and analyze specific actions that are triggered by clicks. With site overlay, you can view user activities and conversions as a visual layer of your site. Okay, here we see information about Compete. It says it is good for checking out the competition, compare our site against multiple competitors in one easy-to-read report. You can enter up to 5 competing websites for a detailed report comparing their amount of visitors and growth percentage for the month of the year. One can find out which keywords are sending traffic to a website or a category, which sites get the most clicks from a keyword, and how two sites compare for competing keywords. You can see where your site stands with customizable rank list of up to 500,000 domains. The Compete toolbar automatically creates 3 alerts for every website you visit. One is trust scores that warns you of potential malicious websites, site profiles that tells you the site popularity, rank, and growth rate, and the lights up if there are any special promotions or coupons offered on a website. One can see the latest stats, including the number of unique visitors for up to 3 sites at a time. Well, and so on. I mean, I'm not going to go all over these tools. The purpose here was just to give you an idea of what web analytics is and web analytics tools are. So here there is a brief report for Quantcast and for StatCounter and for Web Trends. Okay, in the same way, there are tools for usability, and here there are some slides giving a brief summary of the advantages of several tools like ClickTail here and Crazy Egg here. As an example, ClickTail says that unlike traditional web analytics that produce only pure statistics, ClickTail gives webmasters the ability to watch movies of users' individual browsing sessions. Some essential features. Every mouse movement, every click, and every keystroke are recorded for convenient playback. With ClickTail, webmasters can improve website usability, enhance navigation, and increase website effectiveness. Its new advanced search functionality optimizes your landing pages by watching the visitors who arrive at specific pages. Marketing campaign tracking watches how visitors respond to your landing pages and improve the effectiveness of your email and marketing campaigns. Okay, here we have a similar analysis for Crazy Egg. And basically that's all. So, well, so far what I expect is that you have an idea of web analytics as a discipline, which is basically studying what the users do with your web pages, how many users hit the web pages, what impressions they have when they see ads, for instance. I mean, how many ads they see, what ads they see, whether they click or they don't click, whether they do the conversion or they perform the conversion or not. So basically that's the idea, to know more about the behavior of the user, and particularly from a commercial point of view, from the point of view of marketing and of products or marketing goals or marketing campaigns. And also web analytics can be used for usability analysis, not only for marketing or commercial analysis, but also for improving web pages, improving user experience. This is basically all that I wanted to show you today as a theoretical topic.